Galaxy 31 and Galaxy 32 are the next satellites in Intelsat's plan to update its Galaxy fleet. They are part of a new generation of technologies that will give Intelsat Media North America customers access to innovations they have never seen before and a high-performance way to distribute multimedia. And since they aim to produce the best, they use the best to launch their satellites. But how effective are these two new satellites and what are they all about? Welcome to Smarter Tech for all the trending technology news around the world. We keep you updated always. And without further ado, let's get started. The commercial satellite operator Intelsat is familiar with the space game. It owns and manages two nearly similar spacecraft called Galaxy 31 and Galaxy 32. To own and oversee international broadcasting services with numerous participating nations, the business was established in 1964 as the International Telecommunications Satellite Organization, or Intelsat. As the first commercial communication satellite ever, Intelsat launched Intelsat 1 in 1965. Intelsat started launching satellites in the following decades to offer international commercial telecommunication services, mainly using Atlas and Delta rockets. As Intelsat satellites grew in size, it began launching them with launchers such as the Ariane, Titan, Proton, Changzheng, Zenit, and Falcon. The commercial Titan III solid motor kick stage failed to separate from the second stage during the launch of Intelsat 6-3, leaving the satellite in a worthless low Earth orbit. Intelsat would task NASA to upgrade the satellite to a GTO. During STS-49, the space shuttle Endeavour carried out the mission for NASA. Before it was retired, Intelsat 603 spent 23 years in orbit. Before we continue, hold up. If you're watching us for the first time, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can enjoy our future videos while getting updated. Getting back to the topic, the Hughes Space and Communications Company launched the Galaxy Communications satellite fleet in the 1980s, and PanAmSat later merged with it. The United States received telecommunications services from the Galaxy Communications satellites, and in 2001, Intelsat underwent privatization and it amalgamated with PanAmSat 5 years later. Since that time, Intelsat has kept launching satellites to broaden its geographic coverage. Intelsat recently achieved a historic first with a 19-year-old Intelsat 901 satellite in Northrop Grumman's mission extension vehicle. Intelsat placed the Intelsat 901 orbit into a cemetery orbit after it exceeded its 13-year lifespan by 6 years, and Intelsat 37E took its place. To meet the 901 satellite, the MEV-1 launched in October 2019. The first time two commercial spacecraft docked and mission extension services were made available to a geostationary satellite were when MEV-1 docked with Intelsat 901 on February 25, 2020. For 5 years, MEV-1 relocated the satellite to take the position of the outdated Intelsat 907 satellite. In 2021, a second MEV connected to the Intelsat 1001 satellite. Intelsat announced the purchase of the Intelsat 45 satellite from Swiss-to-12 on November 7, 2022. It will use the Swiss-to-12 HummingSat satellite bus as the first commercial satellite operator. And as part of the collaboration with ESA, Swiss-to-12 will employ HummingSat to build a satellite just a tenth the size of typical satellites. This satellite will launch as a rideshare payload with satellites headed for GEO. With a launch in 2025, Intelsat 45 will offer Ku-band satellite services. Per the FCC's intention to put out 5G services, Intelsat has started deploying satellites alongside satellite operator SES to clear the 300 to 400 MHz C-band spectrum above the United States. Intelsat placed orders with Northrop Grumman and Maxar for 7 satellites as part of its strategy to free up that spectrum. And now, Intelsat asked the Galaxy 31 and 32 be launched to a higher transfer orbit for this mission, necessitating an expendable mission. On the Intelsat 35E mission in 2017, Falcon 9 assisted its first Intelsat launch in an expendable configuration. Galaxy 31 and 32 will be SpaceX's second expendable flight for Intelsat and third overall launch for Intelsat. And on Saturday, after a 4-day delay brought on by Hurricane Nicole, the Falcon 9 rocket launched at 11:06 a.m. The two Intelsat Communications satellites were at the top of a 229-foot tall Falcon 9 rocket and are about to launch into geosynchronous orbit for missions that should last for more than 18 years and provide video broadcasting services over North America. SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched from Cape Canaveral on Saturday to place the Galaxy 31 and 32 satellites into a super-synchronous transfer orbit above the Atlantic Ocean. Intelsat Senior Vice President of Space Systems, Jean-Luc Froliger, said that the elliptical transfer orbit would be between a few hundred miles and close to 37,000 miles above the Earth. Interestingly, after the mission, SpaceX launch control team members certified that the rocket had successfully reached the desired orbit. For launch, the Galaxy 31 and 32 satellites were placed one above the other. At T+33 minutes, 31 seconds, Galaxy 32 began to launch from the upper position on the rocket. Galaxy 31 separated from the upper stage of Falcon 9 5 minutes later. But to reduce the quantity of fuel the Galaxy 31 and 32 satellites needed to burn to reach their final operational positions in geostationary orbit. So Intelsat decided to pay SpaceX more money to obtain the full Falcon 9 lift capacity. Typically, SpaceX saves some of the rocket's fuel for landing maneuvers, but on this mission, the rocket's fuel was consumed during the launch and ascent into space. The B-1051 reusable first-stage booster completed its 14th and last flight. The launcher made its debut on March 2, 2019, along with the first Crew Dragon test flight without a pilot, which served as a practice run for SpaceX future human missions. In June 2019, it launched alongside Canada's RadarSat Constellation mission. Later in its lifetime, the rocket flew on 10 flights, hauling SpaceX Starlink internet satellites and launched SiriusXM's SXM-7 radio transmission satellite. The latest Falcon 9 booster launch was a Starlink mission on July 17. The two new Intelsat spacecraft are based on the company's 1300 series satellite architecture. According to Froliger, the dual satellite stack weighs around 14,500 pounds or 6.6 metric tons when it's ready for launch. The Galaxy 31 and 32 satellites burn the fuel that would otherwise be used for station keeping throughout their careers as they transitioned from the elliptical transfer orbit attained by the Falcon 9 rocket into a circular geostationary orbit straight over the equator. In this, Froliger remarked in a press conference on Monday that SpaceX wouldn't be able to reuse the first stage, so they would have to pay more for an expendable launch vehicle. But is that achievable? Intelsat said it was worth it to attain a respectable orbital lifespan defined as more than 15 years. On the other hand, a million pounds of liquid oxygen and kerosene propellants were loaded onto the Falcon 9 rocket over the course of the final 35 minutes of Saturday's countdown. After teams confirmed all technical and meteorological criteria, the 9 Merlin 1D main engines of the first stage booster flashed to life with the aid of an igniting fluid called triethylborane, or TTEB, were green for launch. Hydraulic clamps released the Falcon 9 to launch into orbit once the engines reached full power. The 9 main engines generated 1.7 million pounds of thrust for more than 2.5 minutes, launching the Falcon 9 and Intelsat's Galaxy 31 and 32 satellites into the upper atmosphere. The booster stage then stopped and detachment from the upper stage of the Falcon 9 to start an uncontrolled fall into the Atlantic. The booster was not equipped with SpaceX recovery equipment like landing legs or titanium grid fins. Moreover, SpaceX chose not to send out one drone spacecraft for the pointless expedition. The two Intelsat satellites were launched from the Falcon 9 rocket one at a time, firing its upper stage engine twice to place them in an elliptical geostationary transfer orbit. To circularize their orbits at geostationary orbit, more than 22,000 miles over the equator, Galaxies 31 and 32 will unfold their solar panels and start maneuvers with their propulsion systems. Now, to replace the Galaxy 23 satellite launched in 2003, Intelsat will operate the Galaxy 31 satellite in a position at 121 degrees west longitude. Galaxy 32 will take the place of the 2007 launched Galaxy 17 satellite at 91 degrees west longitude. Interestingly, it will take roughly 2 weeks to complete the orbital maneuvers necessary to deploy the Galaxy 31 and 32 satellites into the circular geostationary orbit. Froliger stated that Galaxy 31 is anticipated to begin commercial operation in January following in-orbit testing, followed by Galaxy 32 in February. Evidently, these satellites are replacing older satellites that are out of fuel and are being replaced with a little more modern technology. As a result, they will have more power and enable customers to utilize smaller reception antennas and perform better, particularly in poor weather. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Will they be effective? And is this a plus to SpaceX? Comment down below. Also, please leave a like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos. Goodbye!